Alrighty, today I thought I just wanted to have a chat about journaling. So just being fresh into 2020, I'm sure a lot of us are sort of setting resolutions or goals, hopefully with a bit of an action plan moving forward on how we're going to achieve them this year. And I thought that now might be a good opportunity just to chat about journaling and the fact that it's probably one of the biggest game changers for me last year, at least in terms of sort of my mental state and clarity. So it took me a fair while to sort of come around on journaling. I'd heard about it a fair bit and I'd tried it on and off in the past and just kind of felt stupid doing it. Couldn't really commit to it and just would stare at the page and not really know what to write. And then when I did write something, I'd feel like a bit of a dickhead, to be honest. But I kept persisting with it at one point and I ended up ordering a journal called the 5 Minute Journal. So I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's pretty popular now, but essentially it's taking a couple of minutes in the morning and a couple of minutes in the evening just before bed to write in their journal, and it looks cool. It's got some cool little quotes at the top of each day or each page to read along with, and then it's all guided. So essentially in the morning you would wake up and just write 3 things you're grateful for. Write down what would make the day great, and just a little mantra as well. And then in the evening, it would sort of be another little prompted or guided couple of questions to say sort of what great things happened today, what could you have done to make the day even better. So I persisted with that book pretty much every night, and it took me probably like still a month of doing it day and night to get into the habit of it, or sort of not start to feel so stupid, or not just like treat it as one of those things where you just cross off the list, like wake up in the morning, oh, I've got to do my journal, just quickly think about, oh, I'm grateful for my coffee on my bed or the weather or something like that, without really actually like stopping to think about it. But anyway, so I persisted with that for a while. That got me into the habit and I started really enjoying it. And over time, my sort of journaling practices got a little bit more, I guess, elaborate, for lack of a better term, and it's just gone down a path where it's just sort of more suited to me. And what I do now, I've actually stolen that template or borrowed it off a mate of mine, Dan. He told me sort of his practice, and I've taken it and run with it and probably modified it a bit. But essentially what it is I would start my day with a mantra. So that would be, think about sort of one goal that you really want to achieve overarching in your life, sort of over everything else. So I would write that goal down, and I would write it as if I had already achieved it and what my life looked like once I had achieved that goal. So again, it sort of can sound a little bit of sort of airy-fairy, but I think if you persist with it, you'll hopefully have a bit of a breakthrough like I did and really start enjoying it. So I'll put that mantra down, and then the next part of it, I would go through what Dan described to me as GAP, or essentially gratitude, acceptance, and purpose. So I would sit there and I do list 3 things that I'm grateful for that day, and I really try and think about this now. I take a couple of minutes and you know, sometimes it might be why I'm grateful for my morning coffee. What is it about the coffee that you're grateful for? Is it, I'm grateful for the fact that I can afford to sit at a beautiful cafe and drink a coffee? Is it the fact that where we live, sitting in a nice coastal suburb, drinking a coffee at a nice cafe? Is it the fact that I'm sharing that time with somebody else, a friend or a partner? What is it about that coffee that I'm grateful for? And then something that pops up regularly for me that I'm grateful for, and I try not to forget this, so I repeat it frequently, is just my health. It's so easy to take your health for granted. You don't really think about it, but some days you wake up and get out of bed and you drag yourself to work and everything's a drag. And then if you sort of took a minute to step back and just think about the fact that they're all choices that you've made. You've dragged yourself, or you've got yourself out of bed because you can, and you chose to take yourself off to work that day because you can. And every single like decision and move that you make is a decision that you have chosen based on the fact that you are fit and healthy enough to make those decisions, if that makes sense. So if you were laid up in a hospital bed with an illness or an injury and you couldn't go anywhere and you were stuck there, you wouldn't get the opportunity to get yourself out of your nice comfortable bed, take yourself a coffee, tea, drag yourself off to work that day. So all of those things kind of, thinking about that sort of puts everything into perspective, and how lucky we are just to have our health and just to even be alive. So I try and journal on that a fair bit. So that's part of gratitude. Sorry, I'm waffling on a little bit, but I just want to make this sort of hopefully sound as appealing as possible. The next part is acceptance, and so the way that I write on acceptance is I essentially write about the person that I need to become to achieve that overarching goal or my mantra. So I accept the fact that X, whatever it is in my mantra, is going to require patience, hard work, sacrifice. What is it that I'm going to have to sacrifice? And what is it that I'm willing to trade off? So they are things that I accept in my life. What type of person do I have to become to achieve the goal that I've set? Because that is really how we're going to get to our goals. We can set these new resolutions and goals and all these fun sounding things, but if we don't change what we do day to day, if we don't become a different person or implement these new habits that are required to make the step-by-step progress to meet our goals, then they're not going to happen. So that's how I interpret the acceptance part. So I journal on that. Who do I have to become? What do I have to sacrifice? And am I willing to do those things? And the other one is my purpose. So I try and set purpose for my life, or even my day sometimes. And you know, some days you might wake up and you feel like you're going to change the world and you're going to help all these people, and that's going to be your purpose. And other days your purpose is just to get through the day. It's a super challenging day. You know, you've got something coming up that you're dreading. So maybe your purpose that day is just to have the strength and the patience and the emotional capacity just to work through the day. So it depends how you're feeling that day. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I don't think. I think just getting your thoughts out on paper is helpful in general, rather than sort of having this elaborate plan. So if that sounds easier to you, or the 5-minute journal sounds easy because it's just guided just to get started, then I could recommend that as well. But the other thing I try and do is just write down a few quotes or a few values each day, just at the end. So sometimes this might be like 2 pages worth of writing. Some days it might be 4. Some days it might be 1. It just depends how much I've got to sort of get off my chest and how I'm feeling about writing each day. But anyways, I will put down a few sort of values or like I said, quotes that I generally need to remind myself. And so something might be just little things and they relate to me. It might be macro patience, micro speed. So remember that I need to keep taking the steps every day to get toward my goal, but I also need to be patient in reaching my goal. Don't get frustrated that it's not happening as quick as I want to, but also make the steps every single day. That's the micro speed part. The macro patience part is obviously that big, being patient towards that big overarching goal. So that's just an example of one little quote that I will write, and then I know that that's what it means to me. So you can consider writing that down as well. And I just think it's just helped me realign and just keep my goals in the front of my mind, because it's so easy just to get carried away, just living the day-to-day, getting distracted with the things that seem urgent, scrolling on social media, even coming down to making decisions. I can allow me to be a little bit more present in terms of, will this decision move me closer or further from my goal? And that way it's more black and white. I can say if it has no benefit or no advantage to me or to achieving my goals, then the answer is going to be no. Or if it sounds like an opportunity that's going to push me toward my goal, then maybe that decision or that answer to that decision is going to be yes. So it's helped me in terms of that. And then just like I said earlier at the start, just gaining a little bit of clarity and direction in my life. So I'd highly recommend it. I don't know if I did it any justice then. I feel like I rambled on a little bit, but if you persist with it for a little bit of time, don't just give it a couple of days or a week. Maybe set yourself a goal or a resolution to try and persist with it for a month or so. And again, the 5-minute journal, if you want just something guided and super easy to start with, because that sort of sounds all overwhelming, a bit sort of silly to you, then that could be a good place to start as well. But I will leave you with that. So I stop ranting, raving. All right.